Welcome to Slow News Day Live. My name is Steve Poikinen. I am here in the soggy, damp, chilly, damn near fall Boulder Creek, Free State, where the flannel shirt is our state flag, the pit bull is our state bird, and cannabis is our state flower. Uh, Breaking news coming out of Florida, where Judge Kenneth Mara has decided to um, render moot and dismiss the case. This federal judge rules effort to throw execution agreement in Jeffrey Epstein's Florida case moot in wake of Epstein's death. Now, this is the case against Ghislaine Maxwell and any other unnamed conspirators that were involved in the child rape trafficking racket that Jeffrey Epstein was the figurehead for. And when I say figurehead, I do mean just that. Jeffrey Epstein was in no way, shape, or form the boss of this organization. Jeffrey Epstein was the face of a criminal organization, but was following orders. And if we believe the work that genuine researchers have done, those bosses are most likely Mossad and or the CIA, if not both. Now, in the thumbnail to this video is the actual text, the last little bit of Judge Mara's decision. I'm going to go ahead and read that real quick in case and because it's pretty freaking hard to see just by looking at a thumbnail. The conclusion says, in view of all the foregoing, it is hereby ordered and adjudged as follows. 1, the clerk shall unseal docket entries 119 and 134, which, by the way, I'm looking for so I can read them out loud to you guys. 2, Jane Doe 1 and Jane Doe 2's motion to strike response to rule number 25 notice is denied. This order shall constitute a judgment for the purposes the case number, and then the clerk will close the case and all pending motions are denied as moot, done and ordered in chambers of West Palm Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida 16th, this day of September 2019, Kenneth Mara, United States District Judge. There is no justice for these victims. What it sounds like what will be interesting to see if it happens is if there will be a slew of civil cases against Ghislaine Maxwell, against anyone else that they had, Bill Richardson, former New Mexico governor, anyone who's been named in terms of collaborating or partnering with Epstein. I believe because this decision was rendered moot, I believe that opens the door for civil cases, but not necessarily criminal. Moot means pointless. The decision was rendered moot because Epstein, of course, to the world, is dead. Now, the reality of that may be very different. You guys know, if you've watched this show, my personal opinion is that Jeffrey Epstein was removed from that prison cell, that he was tied to a chair in a Mossad safe house until Mossad or CIA could then gather all of his blackmail evidence, all of his videotapes, and make it theirs. At which point, the agency that had Epstein tied to a chair could then do whatever they do to employees of theirs who get arrested not once, but twice. The fact that Epstein got caught back, was that 2012, 2013, that last case? the fact that that happened, that he got caught, that he was sentenced to very loose house arrest, that he was allowed to leave house arrest and go to work at his office where he conspired and executed the continuance of his child rape trafficking organization, that all of that was allowed to happens under the condition that this is never going to happen again. And if it does, the consequences will be much more real and much more severe. And a slap on the wrist by Alexander Acosta or West Palm Beach police. They will, in fact, be the consequences that you face when you fuck up in front of the Mossad, when you fuck up in front of the CIA. So, really interesting that and not at all surprising, but interesting that the decision would come down this way, because again, it does look like they will be able to open up to some sort of civil charges. But of course, this is, an instance where the court is protecting, well, Epstein won, but the government, the court is functioning in effect as the messenger from the people who put Epstein to work, put up his fortune, allowed him to operate freely with the trafficking of children for the purposes of rape and exploitation. I just lost my fucking train of thought because I've been fucking dragging ass at work. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because this effectively kills any media noise around it, unless I don't know, a prominent figure decides that they're going to go on their own personal manhunt for Ghislaine Maxwell and highly publicizes that, and highly publicizes some sort of reward for finding and giving accurate information about Ghislaine Maxwell. I fear, however, that would lead to a bunch of "where's Ghislaine" sightings, like we saw, where she was in a like Cape Cod suburb one day, and then was it an In-N-Out Burger the other day, the next day reading a fucking book about CIA spies. Goes back, I was reading out of the comments here, it goes back way further than Epstein. Rothschilds are behind pedo rings, and there's nothing said either about them in NSM, nor is Poindexter's Chibolo Creek Ranch in West Texas. Very true. To put pedo rings at the feet of solely the Rothschilds, I think, is a little disingenuous. Although there are definitely connections between that family and really, again, every fucking pedophile ring that we know about. However, we've got Whitney Webb's excellent reporting, which she's discussed in detail on this show before, that shows that it's not just the Rothschilds, it's the Bronfman family, it's Meyer Lansky, it's the National Crime Syndicate, it's the FBI, it's the CIA, it's fucking people involved in the Detroit Mafia. I don't know if there's an investigation going on in France. I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm not sure if the French as a citizenry have any more actual justice in their justice system than we do. I would hope so. We're setting a pretty fucking low bar as it is right now. I'm not. You would have to go back in time or go uh, an actual third world country to find the sort of tier justice system that the United States operates under. Um, whose activities go back thousands of years? Or are we talking about, like, is this like an elite bloodline thing? Is this, I mean, I'm not going to, I'm not going to sit here and try to argue that people haven't exploited children and used them for fucking just the most horrific purposes whatsoever for thousands of years. Of course, we see that bear out in damn near every historical story that we read. I believe the French procurer who gave Epstein French 12-year-old triplets for his birthday is missing, according to Sean Atwood. I will have to dig into that, Rogue Cow. Thank you very much for that. Will you please leave that in a comment on a thread so that I'm not just saying that and I'm actually held accountable to it and I go and dig into it? Because that would be cool. We found out, God, I think it was just today that this story broke, that has a Steve Mnuchin connection to Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, that broke this morning. Unfortunately, I am pulling this article out of the Daily Beast. It is not a source that I like to use. It is as from, and I may have this wrong. If I do, call me out on the chat, but I'm pretty sure that the Daily Beast is the outlet that Chelsea Clinton sits on the board of. This is pretty easy to verify. According to the article, Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin served in an official capacity for a business run by one of Jeffrey Epstein's most infamous associates. In official records, Mnuchin is listed as the official state point of contact for Next Management Corporation, a company formed in 1988 by modeling industry leaders Jean-Luc Brunel and Arnaud Brunel. At the time, Jean-Luc Brunel had just been the subject of a 60 Minutes documentary accusing him of drugging and raping at least 3 models. Later, he would be accused by 2 women of supplying girls to Epstein to be sexually abused. Records accessed by the Daily Beast list Mnuchin as the New York Department of State process for Next Management Company. According to department officials, the DOS is the person who files the company's registration papers and receives lawsuits and other official documents. And this thing just fucking jumped all over me. A Treasury Department official said Mnuchin didn't know he was listed as the DOS process for Next Management Corporation before the Daily Beast inquiry. He said it was not clear how much Mnuchin wound up serving in that role and added that the secretary did not recall ever meeting either Brunel brother and had never done business with either of them. So Next Management Corporation is going to be something that I will be looking into, for the simple fact of the matter that they're the clearinghouse, or at least the process department is a clearinghouse for for the shit, Jesus Christ, man. The process department is where all of the legal is ran through. Only took 12 minutes to get notified. You know what, man? And thanks for being here, Fred. I appreciate it. You know what I've been noticing is that, like, I'll go The other day I went and did Jason Burmis's show. That might have even been yesterday. Yesterday was fucking really long. It could have been a different day. I don't know. But when I go and do somebody like that show, or I'll go and do Ron Pacone's show to talk about the Free Assange thing, I will get almost instantly 50 to 100 followers. And then I'll go do something, and YouTube will notify me on the phone that someone is subscribed to my channel. And I will look, and my number of subscribers has gone up by 1, not from the count where I left it, but from the previous count. Like, for every 50 or so people that subscribe to this channel, 1 person is actually counted as a new subscriber. Thanks for the interview with Nico yesterday. I watched a bunch last night. So I got a couple of people kind of hollering at me about why did you have Nico House on your show? Nico House is more of an establishment figure, or he he pushes that you can change the country through the electoral process. And I want to go ahead and explain why I will continue to have like people who are sort of on the outside of that establishment media bubble. And it's because if I can have a good conversation with people who are sort of on the fringes of establishment media or independent media, but also are trying to get people elected, or also trying to work with legitimate Democrats, quote unquote. If I can have a good conversation with these guys, we can get it into some real shit. Then that opens up the door for me to go on to their shows. It opens up the door for me to get into, from the outer edges of that establishment bubble where these guys are. It allows me to speak truth to a different audience. And I'm not trying to say that Nico House is an actual establishment figure. He's definitely more involved and more connected to Democratic Party insiders and people who are in the establishment than I am. So his connections to those people, and the fact that he does act, he said it on this show, as a Tulsi Gabbard surrogate, is what allow me to say that. Oh, Brunel is missing now? That is interesting. That is very interesting. I'm glad Jamarl Thomas got you here, Anthony. That's a guy that I wish well, I guess I wish we were on speaking terms, and I don't know why we're not. I am also glad that Nico calls out to you, but for the last fucking time, when I said Nico House is more of an establishment figure than I am, Nico House definitely has more connections to the outer edges of establishment media than I do. Yeah, I'll have Peter Friedrich on for a counterpoint, because I didn't know that Nico was going to go anywhere about Kashmir. I didn't know that was going to happen. That's not something that we discussed before the show. I think it just sort of, he saw an opening and went for it. Which is what I would do if I was on his show and I had something to drop about Julian Assange, or I had my Epstein theory to drop or something like that. You know, I mean, I would do the exact same thing. Unfortunately, I know fuck all about Indian politics. I know fuck all about the history of Kashmir. So, um, in the interest of fairness, I will reach out to the gentleman that you mentioned, and I will get a hold of him. Everybody's going to have a different perspective on the situation in Kashmir, and I believe that Nico prefaced his with saying he was not an expert on the issue. But again, I'll have Nico House on. If I could, I would get Tom Hartman's Padawan in here. I would get Kyle Kalinske in here just to see if I could get back on his show, or on his show, you know, just to see if there was any reciprocity there. In the interest of fairness, I personally like Nico House. I've had a few conversations with him. I've been on a couple of panels with him. I don't necessarily agree with the dude 100%. Nor should I. Nor should he agree with me 100%. Nor should you agree with me 100%. Um, but but he's a likable guy. He's a great conversationalist, and he will let me make a point when I need to make a point. Um, I don't like the fact that his show is a Tulsi Gabbard commercial. I don't, but it's his show, and I don't get to. You know, I guess my option would be to not watch it, or to only watch it when Tulsi Gabbard isn't in the title. I never asked him a question about Tulsi Gabbard, and he interjected it on his own as often as possible. So, um, holy fuck, would that have been a different show if I wanted to talk about the horse race, you know? But I really don't want to fucking talk about the horse race. What I would like to talk about is our brand new march to war in Iran and the justification for it, which was a drone strike on a Saudi Arabia oil field, where our intelligence agencies, and of course Saudi's intelligence agency, are blaming on Iran. Now, just a few days ago, John Bolton, the world's most war-hungry man that I can fucking think of, um, got fired from his position as national security advisor by Donald Trump. This was a desperate, naked attempt to pander to his base that he sold a fucking non-interventionist bill of goods to during the 2016 campaign. Um, I don't know. It, firing John Bolton should make everyone happy. Like, no matter who you are, the fact that there were Democrats bemoaning it, or at least bemoaning the sudden shift in foreign policy. If it's buffering, please refresh. My computer's being a little wonky right now. I have too many things going on up here. But yeah, the fact that there were people that were kind of bemoaning, or at least pointing out that it was unstatesmanlike of Donald Trump to rock the boat so often in his own administration. You know what? Fuck those guys. They're the exact same neocon, neoliberal warmongers that would like us to be involved in more military operations than we currently are. They were pushing the fucking brand new Cold War, for fuck's sake. Never happy if Donald Trump talks about removing troops from anywhere. But But firing John Bolton was nakedly pandering to a base that he promised he'd be non-interventionist to. Now, right after that, he comes out and he says John Bolton wasn't going hard enough on Venezuela, and then not hours later, there's a drone strike on a Saudi oil field. Now, whether or not John Bolton is Donald Trump's national security advisor, there are acolytes of John Bolton who are littered all throughout, not just Donald Trump's administration, but Barack Obama's administration, and whoever the next president is. There will be John Bolton's fucking war stench will not leave DC until there is a completely different form of government, not new Democrats or new Republicans. That shit doesn't work for us on purpose. It works for them on purpose. But John Bolton's influence comes to bear in immediately blaming Iran for an attack on the Saudi oil field. We are going to beat this drum. The public is sick and tired of fucking war. But for whatever reason, the public is conditioned to give Saudi Arabia a pass. Now, Saudi Arabia is a state sponsor of global terrorism. Saudi Arabia is led by what anyone would refer to as a radical sect of Islam. If they have our fucking oil, or if, as Tulsi Gabbard suggests, if we weren't their bitch, we would have had to wipe them off the face of the map years ago. We would have at least had to acknowledge that the 19 hijackers were all Saudi citizens. Now, you guys know that I don't believe the official 9/11 narrative. We've got a reckoning to do with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is #1 buyer of evergreen copper still in Oregon, but with secret compartments, decade-old bishops, I recall. Fortune, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's father, the man who had a state funeral in Israel, owned a yacht that was also owned by Jamal Khashoggi's brother, who was at the time the #1 arms dealer in Saudi Arabia. That yacht was also purchased by Donald Trump. To think for a second that the Saudi royal kingdom or Saudi royal family isn't wrapped up in the Epstein thing, is just, it's fucking foolish, full stop. Do you think that Tulsi calling Trump Saudi's bitch is giving implicit cover to Israel's involvement in pushing U.S. war to Iran? I think that by reflex, 100% of the U.S.'s politicians tacitly give cover to Israel every time something happens in the Middle East. I think it's a reflex. But I don't know, man. I don't know. And I haven't watched yet the video that Nico House said Tulsi put out, further clarifying her statements on that 9/11 video she put out, which was absolutely freaking imperialistic and monstrous. Um, so I got to take a look at that. But, since society at large isn't ready for survivors to go public, what should we do? Talk about it anyway. If you want to come on this show and talk about it, you can email me at slownewsdaypodcast@gmail.com and we can set something up. Okay, if you're going to call one out, you need to call both out. Who did I not call out? Who? Oh, okay. No, well, okay, so Tulsi Gabbard is fucking on the Council on Foreign Relations. She's an active duty member of the United States military. She says she's for regime change wars, which I think the vast majority of people who aren't John Bolton or John Bolton acolytes, or at this point aren't leading prominent members of the Democratic leadership, I think they would agree with that. But if you support the drone program, if you want to go after Al Qaeda or Al Nusra or ISIS or any of these other United States manufactured terrorism organizations, if you're going to do that, if you're going to say, yeah, I support the drone program, yeah, I support in fighting the global war on terror, you are admitting by your support that you are comfortable with accepting the intelligence reports and the influence of war hawks and of intelligence agency liars and of people with a deliberate agenda to continue a war against an idea, a war against a philosophy, and it is mind-boggling to me that the peace candidate still supports various forms of United States military aggression, of continuing the empire. I don't hear her talk enough about we need to close down fucking 80% of our military bases. I don't hear uh, people in politics point to the fact that the US military is the largest global polluter often enough. I don't hear these conversations coming out of even left media channels often enough. And if we don't find a way to get these conversations going in the physical public square, with our conversations with human beings that we have face to face in person whenever we go out, if we can't bring this kind of thing to the forefront, these motherfuckers are going to be allowed to murder as many people as they fucking need to for the profit. You live in Stockton, trying to meet in public places, get your ass shot at, or jump. I would look into meeting a couple of clampers and maybe hanging out with them. I know some clampers in Stockton who are fucking just total weirdos and would get down on talking about that. Yeah, Tulsi Gabbard is going all in on Donald Trump and his relationship to Saudi Arabia. Um, and I'm more and more inclined to, yes, it provides cover to Israel. Yes, it does. But I'm more inclined to think of this in terms of she's a politician. She's still running for the highest office in the country. And if there's one thing that she can really go after Donald Trump on, and there's one thing that can really play to the subtle and overt racism that most Americans have towards Muslims in general, um, it is going after Saudi Arabia. Um, we have, in my mind, at least, direct evidence that the Democratic Party is fed the fuck up with Benjamin Netanyahu, mostly because of his relationship with Donald Trump. So they're pushing the further right candidate, the candidate that not only wants to guarantee that Israel remains an apartheid state, but has expulsion dreams for the Palestinian people that live in Israeli towns. That's what the whole fucking 11th hour campaign promise by Netanyahu to annex the entirety of the Jordan Valley was all about. Who can be the worst to the Palestinian people is going to get the most support from the United States Democratic Party. Well, if you're jaded optimist, if you're running for president as a Democrat, you're controlled opposition by default. Um, just go public anyway discounts the very real danger survivors subject themselves to by going public. I understand that. I do. I would um I don't know. I mean, you've already gone public, yeah? Like I don't know. I mean, you can I wouldn't say talk to anyone about it. I would say talk to people you trust about it, or talk to sources you would trust about it. Um, if you feel comfortable with an outlet, which you clearly have in the past, go through that outlet. I'm not trying to suggest you. Uh, okay, yeah. You don't have to go on video, man. There's audio only for this shit. I don't have to use your real name. I mean, there's ways to protect your identity that um I don't think were considered in that interview. If that rhetoric ends up with a conflict with Saudi Arabia, that's just proving Christopher Boyle incorrect. Well, what is it? There's got to be some kind of reckoning. There's got to be, you know, the the amount of just brutality that the Saudis are allowed to get away with by the UN, by their own people, by their neighbors. There's got to be some kind of reckoning for that, and I will be honest with you, I don't know what that looks like. I don't. You watched a rabbi make the case that Israel is not moral and not part of their Jewish faith, and they believe it should be dismantled. A lot of these Jews live in New York City. I No, there's I mean there are global conferences for rabbis and people of the Jewish faith who support Palestine, who are openly hostile to the political philosophy of Zionism. And I would hope that I would hope that no group is homogenous in general, but especially with something like religion, especially with something like a concept of spirituality that got dogmatized and turned into um a business, and multiple businesses, but not only businesses, but you know, um a nuclear powered nation with one of the more advanced technologically militaries on the planet. Audio interview seems logical. Yeah, I mean, the both. I can't think of a format out here that offers video that doesn't have audio. Um, for that, I would go ahead and disable any camera and then tape over the webcam and relocate my phone or something like that, because it doesn't. I wouldn't put it past. Uh, well, I wouldn't put it past anyone who can monitor or manipulate these technologies to kick the video on in the middle of that. So I would let me go ahead and throw my email address here and do. Oh, thank you, Jeff. I don't know if I deserve that. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up for now. There's some other stuff that I wanted to talk about. Um, we'll get to, but this has gone on for quite a while. So if you're digging what I'm doing here and you're not already subscribed to the show, please go ahead and do that. Click the notification bell, even though it's this show and it's YouTube, and like so many other people in independent or left media, clicking the notification bell does not guarantee that you will be notified. Um, if you really dig the show and you currently support independent media, you can become a patron of this show. I'm really going to put some effort in this week into sprucing up the Patreon, but I have videos there that are not available here. And there is no minimum level. There's no tiers. Yeah, you can find that at www.patreon.com/slownewsday. And until next time, I'm Steve Poikinen, and good luck to us all.